Christmas candy does not have to be difficult. This Saltine Toffee is super easy, made with saltine crackers, a quick toffee made of brown sugar and butter. It's put on the stove, it's baked in the oven. It takes no special equipment, and you're gonna have perfect toffee every time with no extra work. Perfect for gifts, perfect for yourself. Let's make some. When it comes to holiday baking, sometimes things are more complicated. Sometimes we make peanut brittle. You know I love my peanut brittle recipe. Grandma's recipe is so good. This is a simple candy. It's not a candy that you have to get super worried about. We're not even going to use our thermometer on this. So it's very easy and user-friendly if you want to get into the Christmas candy, and also make one that's irresistible. It uses saltine, so it has that sweet, salty toffee crunch, and it's absolutely delicious. What we're starting with is getting everything ready beforehand. So we have the pan, I'm taking some butter, and I'm just making sure I coat it with butter so it's easy to come out in the end. We are still making a toffee. It's just a little bit of a quicker, pared down toffee than my traditional toffee recipe on my website. So instead of cooking white sugar until it caramelizes, we're gonna use brown sugar and butter, and we're gonna cook them for a quick toffee and put them in here. And what they're gonna be put on top, that toffee is gonna be put right on top of saltine crackers. So what I love about saltines, they obviously already have that salty kick to them, and they have a great kind of that just great texture. So what I'm gonna do is lay them out here right over that buttered pan. And the reason I'm doing this now is because when you're working with anything like cooking sugar, melting it together with butter, you have to work quickly sometimes because sugar's a hot mixture. And when it's at the right point, no matter whether it's a easy candy, hard candy, you wanna make sure you're ready to go. So if you have everything ready beforehand, it makes and takes that ease and worry away. So what I wanna do is make sure I have an even layer of these all around. And what I do sometimes, and you're gonna see why, the pan usually has a little bit of kind of a dead space there at the end, and I don't want that dead space. So what we'll do is we'll either break or cut some of these saltines to make sure they fit right over in there. So you can see like this one broke. So we can either use them perfectly if we can break them. See how we can just break that up and get it down in there? If they overlap just slightly, that's fine. But what I wanna do is try to get to fit as best as I can, which sometimes takes a little bit, but you know, honestly, that's pretty easy and is going better than I would have thought. Last time I actually just cut these when I did them before. But now what I'm gonna do is take that final piece, put it right in there, and this is ready to go. So we have this ready, and what I'm gonna do is just keep it here, keep it set aside, and now we're gonna work with the stove. I have butter right in here. So at Sugar, your main food groups are oftentimes what? Butter and sugar. And that's why, you know what? We don't indulge in this every day. We indulge in it once in a while and we enjoy it. So what we're gonna do is put some brown sugar with this butter, and we're gonna put it on the stove and we're gonna let it melt. And then I'm gonna show you, we're gonna let it cook, and that's an important step. So we're gonna let this melt down, then I'm gonna bring you back so you can make sure and see the cooking process. So this has been melting, it's just beginning to cook, which is what we wanna simmer. So I wanna show you before I stir it here. You can see we're not quite all stirred together yet. So I'm just gonna take this mixture, stir it around to make sure any pieces of that sugar are dissolving right into the butter, because that's important. And now what you see is the simmer happening all the way around. We wanna make sure, and see how when I stir it, it stays and it keeps cooking? It's still simmering, that's wonderful. So now we're gonna let this cook for 5 minutes. And what that's gonna do is really bring it up to the correct temperature, but you can do it without using a thermometer because we're just gonna continually let it cook so it gets that sugar to fully dissolve in that butter, and then we're gonna pour it on the saltines and bake it. Super easy, super simple. In a few minutes, we're gonna be done. This has been cooking now for 5 minutes, super simple, and you can see how it becomes more homogeneous. Now what I'm gonna do is take the time, remember this mixture is very hot, so don't try to touch it. I'm gonna take the time to make sure I pour it evenly over all these saltines. This is the only chance you get to do that, so we're gonna go very slowly and just pour it all around until they're all covered. This is like the perfect kind of just slow job to do. In the oven, it will settle out somewhat too, so if you don't feel like you get it perfectly even, that's okay. I just like to, as much as I can, get this to cover all those nooks and crannies and all those saltine crackers. You know, this is one of those, to me, church recipes I grew up with, where when you would go to church around Christmas and say you had maybe carol singing or something, you'd come back and have all of those cookies waiting for you. This was always something someone would make, and it would be like, oh, the good stuff. And it is, like everyone loves it because it has that perfect mix of sweet and salt. Now I do wanna make sure I get out all that caramel. And see how this is a simple, quick caramel. That brown sugar and butter just work together to make a really quick caramel, which is what works so well in this instance. So now what we're gonna do is we put this into the oven, and it cooks. You wanna make sure it's just bubbling throughout. So it takes about 6 to 8 minutes. And then when you pull it out, we're gonna have these chopped up. While we're in the oven, we're gonna chop these up. We're gonna put chocolate on it so it melts. Everything will come together and it will just be super easy and perfect. These have been cooking and I want you to see what they look like. You can have displaced crackers like I have. Don't worry about that. You can push them down if you want to. The toffee can kind of just push them up, but you can just go around and just realign them. But I want you to see this, so if this is what happens at home, you don't get scared. This is completely normal. And what we're doing is we're gonna let them just sit about a minute here. So this is the perfect time to just slightly, if you need to, adjust some of the crackers, let them make sure they sit back on top and they're not just being on top of each other, but instead are with that caramel and toffee. What it does is that toffee is bubbling in the oven, and so all those little air pockets in those bubbles push these around. But look how quickly it's starting to just solidify. So this is now a fast process where this sugar is going to solidify pretty quickly. So what we're gonna do now, and I have them all, I think, adjusted back. See how quick? So don't fret if that happens. You just adjust them back with something. It's hot, don't do it with your fingers. Is now that this has sat just enough, I'm gonna put the chocolate right on it. So, using chocolate chips. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sprinkle them all around evenly, and we're gonna let them sit a couple minutes until you can tell that they're just melted, and then we spread them out into an even, just, topping all over these. After a couple minutes, you can see they all turn more of a shiny color, chocolate chips do, and that's when you know they're gonna be somewhat ready to spread throughout. And if you have a few pieces that aren't ready as you go, they're gonna just melt into it then as you're spreading. So just go around and spread all the way to the corners, all the way to the edges, and this just makes sure you have an even layer. And we're doing it, once they're all melted. If you wait too long, things could start, re-hardening. So you just wanna make sure you do it within a couple minutes. And look how simple that is. So this is really a quick Christmas candy to make. And all we need to do now is we're gonna just make a nice little swirl on top because why not? And now we can just top it off if you want to with a couple things. Now, you don't have to do these steps. I'm saving this for me to lick off. But this is what I like to do. So with my other toffees too, I put on chopped toasted pecans. I think that's just a nice way to dress up for the holidays. You kind of spend more maybe on special things around the holidays, like really good pecans, and you put them on top chopped and they have this gorgeous, just festive feel to them. And it's something we don't have all the time. And so I want to spread those all around, and you want to do it while the chocolate is still melted and hot because it's going to adhere then better. So you can see I'm just putting them all the way around, and the reason we toast them, flavor. You need to. Don't think you can get away without that step. You're gonna have that flavor. And to me then the final touch is gonna be a little bit of finishing some type of salt. Now you can do a kosher salt, or you could even do a flakier salt like you see here. I have a nice flaky salt with some bigger pieces. I like that because then you're gonna get a little bit more of that briny saltiness as you bite into it, which is delicious. Now, the one thing you wanna watch is if you're gonna use salted butter, you may not wanna add a lot of salt on top. You have to balance that out. You can use salted butter. It just depends what you wanna do. And salted butter can add really good flavor, just maybe then don't finish with some salt on top. But this is now ready to go. But what we need to do is let it cool. And then we can just break it up. So I'm gonna actually set it, I live in the Midwest, so I'm gonna set this in my garage to fully cool. You could put it in a fridge too for a little bit, and we'll break it up and we'll enjoy it. The toffee is fully chilled, and you wanna make sure it's chilled because that's how it's gonna break apart correctly. So you can put it in a cold area, you can put it in the fridge even for a little while, but now you just wanna break it out. Now on camera, I'll try to do this pretty, but just if you can work something underneath it, right here now, I'm getting under it. See, that now is gonna allow us to pick it up and just start breaking it into pieces. Look at that gorgeous toffee. So you get that saltine layer, which is gonna be that beautiful salty mixture with the sweet toffee, chocolate on top, and you can break it into whatever size pieces you want. I like slightly, I would say like this. What do we call this? Like a 1 by 2 inch size piece. But breaking it into shards is the fun part. Store in an airtight container and then serve it at your parties, give it away as gifts. Addicting. I don't know what to say. That toffee is that beautiful caramelly burnt sugar flavor you want. Mixed with that saltine layer, which at first people won't even know that's what it is. It just has this perfect texture. And topped with those toasted pecans, chocolate, salt. This is a match, and it is made in heaven. And it's absolutely delicious. It's super easy, so if candy making scares you, This is a great starter recipe. Really low intro worry here. You don't have to use a thermometer. If you follow these steps, you're gonna come out with a really good toffee that everyone's gonna love. And that's perfect every time. So what do I hope you do? Share this video around so other people can see if I can do this, anybody can do it. It's super easy. Check my website, wyseguy.com, where you're gonna find this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there with step-by-step how-tos so you can be confident to make the same thing, to enjoy the holidays however you see fit. Have fun.